Good evening. In the last video, we did a little welcome to the channel. On this one, I wanted to talk a little bit about myself, why I happen to be going through this bariatric procedure, what my goals are, some of the emotions that I'm going through right now. And so, first of all, who am I? As I've mentioned in the last video, my name is Billy. I'm a 50-year-old father of 3 boys, all young adults, have a granddaughter. So I'm in the North Texas area. I've worked IT for about 30 years. So a lot of sitting, not a lot of activity, which may have contributed to where I am right now. The reason I'm considering bariatric surgeries, honestly. I've done the weight loss, I've done diets, I've done exercise. At one point, I actually saw some pretty good success. I lost about 60 pounds, but unfortunately, it's hard to maintain the level of commitment that led me there, right? The consistent calorie deficit. Eventually, it ends, and it doesn't take long to settle back in the old habits. I've tried the injections, the medication that they have now, and unfortunately that had zero effect on me. If anything, I actually gained a little bit of weight on it. So while a lot of people have seen success with those, it didn't quite work out that way for me. In a lot of ways, it feels like this is kind of my last best option, and so that's why I've decided to talk to a surgeon about this. So what was the turning point that made me decide on surgery? Honestly, it was in May. I took a flight. I'm also an author. I have a couple of published books. Did a research trip to England. In the seat, I felt like I barely fit into it. And so that was a long, uncomfortable, like 8 hours wedged into that seat. And then on the way back, another 8 hours. And that was when I determined I have to do something, right? Over time, the weight just gradually increases a little bit at a time, and before you realize it, it's gotten totally out of hand. For myself, I've always been big, but through probably until I was about 20, I was maybe 30 or 40 pounds overweight, but stocky, right? So built a little bit kind of like a linebacker. And then around 21 is when that changed. It snuck up on me. Didn't realize it didn't have a scale, so I wasn't weighing myself. And I didn't realize I had an undiagnosed issue with low thyroid production. It's amazing how many things that your thyroid impacts. And one of the things it can impact is weight. So over the course of about a year and a half, 2 years, I gained 100 pounds. But when you see yourself in the mirror, you don't really think about it. And so it crept up on me. And so that was kind of the beginning of where I am today. So my surgery is scheduled for the beginning of October. The procedure I'm having is the bariatric sleeve. Originally, my surgeon had talked to me about the bypass because I've had a history with a little bit of acid reflux, and the sleeve sometimes can make that worse with people, not always, but because of that she had suggested the bypass. Unfortunately, as we were going through and taking all the procedures, because I have had some acid reflux, they did a scope down my esophagus and they found a small mass in my stomach. Thankfully, it was small. As I proceeded to get it checked out, it was because of that has to be removed, and it just so happens that it's perfectly placed for them to remove it as they do part of the sleeve, and so that's why we've gone from the bypass to the sleeve. Also, because it has been there, I will need scopes in the future just to check, make sure that nothing new is growing there. And when you have the bypass, they still leave most of your stomach in, but they connect it lower down on the small intestines, but it makes it harder to scope. Whereas with the sleeve, it's kind of counterintuitive, right? You would think the bypass would remove the stomach, but with the sleeve, the rest of the stomach that is separated actually gets pulled out. And because of that, there's nothing to scope. So ultimately, with talking with my surgeon and my doctors, we decided that was the best procedure for me at this time. So that's why we changed that. So my short-term goals before surgery, I've actually been working on those. So I have 19 days until my surgery. I haven't yet started the liquid diet, but I have changed my diet quite a bit. I've been working with the nutritionist. That's part of the insurance requirements for most insurance companies, is that you work with the nutritionist, you have a psychological evaluation, you have a fitness evaluation, and depending on your insurance, there'll be other requirements that you may have to do. Some of them I've heard of, but never had to do, nicotine tests, stuff like that. We didn't have to do that for me. And honestly, I quit smoking 20 years ago, so it's not an issue for me. But the diet, so getting back to that, so I did change my diet because I know that sugar is going to be my weakness. And so for the past 3 weeks, I've actually cut out sugar from my diet, started going on a reduced calorie diet as well, not severe, not drastic, but cutting say 400 to 600 calories out of my daily intake. And as a result of that, I've actually lost 25 pounds since I started this process, which has been good. Makes me feel better. It makes me feel like this can be a success in the long run, because if I can do it now, once I have the surgery and it reduces those food cravings, it resets the metabolism, is the way it's been explained to me. If I'm already on the right path, then all I have to do is continue that path. So those are some of the changes I've already made. Plus, trying to be cognizant about walking more, being a little bit more energetic, because I also know that exercise is a key part of success. So my long-term lifestyle and fitness goals, I would love to be able to jog. I've never really been able to run my entire life. Even when I used to play football back in school, I hated running laps around the field. It was just terrible. But I know some people that greatly enjoy running, right? Exercising, I'd like to enjoy it. That's something that I'd like to be able to like doing things, as opposed to having to deal with things either hurting or running out of breath super early, getting tired. So yeah, being more energetic and being able to actually exercise like most people do without even thinking about it, that's one of my goals, both for fitness and my lifestyle. In health, being obese comes with health problems, and unfortunately I've developed some of them. As I mentioned, I had an issue with my thyroid. I've been having to take medication to help with that for the past 30 years, and it stayed like that for more like 20 years. But over the past 10 years or so, as new things have popped up, and almost all of them related to my weight, I've had to increase medication. So I've gone from that one pill to now 6 pills in injection, which is, it kind of bothers me because I have so much I have to take that I have to space it out to make sure that there's no interactions with a couple of them. Another thing that this surgery is supposed to do is reset most of that, and so I know that the thyroid medication I'll probably have to continue to take. Maybe it'll improve, who knows. But if I can get back to just one pill a day, I'd be ecstatic. And really, those are the changes I'm hoping for. And of course, the weight loss, right? Right now, I don't have some super huge goals. I know that this is a tool that's supposed to help get me to lose, say, about 70% of my excess weight. If I could do better, that'd be fantastic. If it's not quite as good, I'd still be happy with it as long as it's progress. So, now that I have the surgery coming up in 19 days, how do I feel? I'm a little bit nervous, honestly. I've been lucky in that even though I've had these other issues going on, I've not had a serious surgery before. So this is my first cutting surgery. I guess I'll put it that way. As you get older, some scopes you have to have, but also with my acid reflux issues, I've had scopes, but this is the first time I'm being cut into, so it's kind of hard not to be nervous about that. But at the same time, I'm hopeful, right? I'm hopeful for good outcomes. Even though I'm 50, and I've waited probably longer than I should have. This is something I feel like I probably should have considered about 10 or 15 years ago. I'm hopeful that there'll still be good outcomes, and maybe this will help me to have a healthier life, a better quality of life for a longer period of time, and hopefully see my granddaughter grow up. So that's really kind of my goal. Challenges I anticipate. Well, so we'll see how the liquid diet goes. So it's 2 weeks before the surgery. I have to do a completely liquid diet. You know, I'm kind of nervous about that because I guess my big concern is fiber, right? I know several people who've gone through this procedure, and upping your protein as much as you have to for the liquid diet, because you're usually doing 3 or 4 protein shakes a day. With a lack of fiber, it can sometimes back you up. I'm going to try these fiber gummies that hopefully will help. But yeah, that's one of the challenges I anticipate. And then after the diet itself, or I'm sorry, after the surgery itself, you are on a clear diet while you're in the hospital. Once you're out of the hospital, you go back to a liquid diet. Over the course of a couple of weeks, you get cleared for a soft food diet, which is stuff like eggs, cottage cheese, yogurt. Well, I guess the yogurt is good for the liquid diet as well, but you start moving to more substantial food. You do that for a couple of more weeks, maybe a month, and then gradually you can start introducing real food again. So, but from what I hear from the people who've had the surgery, after the surgery is kind of the easy part, because your stomach has shrunk so much. You know, it makes it almost impossible to overeat without making yourself seriously ill and having some gastric pain, really. So from what I've heard is you quickly learn not to do that to yourself, which is great. I wish I could have learned that before. So yeah, after the procedure, I don't anticipate too many problems. I know, you know, it's gonna just take changing my mindset, changing my daily habits. I hear exercising is key, so I've joined a gym, and which is like literally right next door to my work. So I'm hoping to start going to the gym 3 times a week as soon as I can lift weights after the procedure, so that way I can start incorporating that into my journey as well. So what am I most looking forward to? Honestly, again, that airplane seat, being able to comfortably fit in an airplane seat would be nice. I'm kind of a tall guy. I'm 6 foot, so it's bad enough that if I don't have like an exit row or a seat with extra leg room, then my knees are in the seat in front of me. But so this way it is already kind of a challenge. I'm already kind of uncomfortable. If I can make myself comfortable this way, then I'll be happy with that. And I fly quite a bit. I fly a lot. So that will have a serious impact on my life if I could fly comfortably. I'm also looking forward to, I mean, there's so many things that you don't think about, that you just kind of take and accept when you're obese, right? Not being able to ride on certain rides, not being able to do certain activities, right? You go on vacation and you can't do. My wife and I just went to Mexico City, right? And there was the option to take a balloon over the pyramids outside of Mexico City, and I couldn't do it, right? Because of my weight. I exceeded that weight limit. So it'd be nice to be able to do stuff like that. It'd be nice to be able to not worry about things not being in my size. That's become almost like a given, right? It is when I find something, some clothes I'd like to buy, I'd say about 3/4 of the time they don't have it in my size. So it'll be nice to be able to find something I like and be able to buy it without worrying about it not being in stock or not even being made at once you hit a certain size. So those are what I'm looking forward to. So thankfully, as I go through this journey, I have my family. My wife is extremely supportive. My sons, actually, and they, when I went to talk to the surgeon, I didn't let them know until after I had spoke to the surgeon for the first time. And my wife told me, honestly, we were considering talking to you about it because, of course, we're concerned about your health. But we didn't know how to bring this up. And so they had been wanting to talk to me about it for months. So they're extremely supportive. I have several friends who have been through this procedure, so it's great to have people that I can talk to daily if I need to, and get their advice about how things are going, what to expect, tips for success, things that they wish they would have known. Actually, and that was the first thing I did before I even talked to the surgeon. I talked to a couple of these friends and asked them, what do you wish you would have known before you went through this process? And it helped give me a series of questions that I can ask the surgeon. And she was actually she said it was kind of refreshing to have someone who went in with a list of questions, right, as we went through them. So yeah, definitely, I have friends and family. So I think I'm blessed in that I have a really good support structure in place, right? So why did I decide to share this journey publicly? Well, it's as I was going through the Reddit communities for bariatric surgery and gastric sleeve, there's a whole bunch of people with really inspiring stories, but most of them begin after the procedure. And so I thought, why not start leading up to it, right? As I'm preparing myself emotionally and mentally to go through this process. And there's no two ways about this. When you think about it, it's a pretty significant step. But it's different starting from a position from after it's happened. You know, it's already happened. So you can talk about it in hindsight, but it's different than talking to somebody who is preparing themselves to go through that procedure. And so that's why I decided, you know what, maybe it's best to have this perspective, this leading up to the surgery perspective, and then follow through to the end. And I hope that this will help people who are considering bariatric surgery or are going through this process. If you have any questions, please contact me through the channel, send me a direct message or whatever. I'm always happy to talk, and so I hope this channel will help. So one of the non-scale victories that I'm looking for is to be able to jog a mile without feeling like I'm dying. My favorite comfort food right now is a question I wrote down for myself because I thought this might be helpful, especially as I'm preparing myself to cut down my sugar intake. I have cut down my sugar intake quite a bit. So right now my favorite comfort food is, my wife and I bought a Ninja creamy ice cream maker, right? And it's like, okay, you're about to have bariatric surgery and you're talking about making ice cream. But what we've done is we've taken the Fairlife protein shakes, the pre-mixed ones. I have found that if I take one of those vanilla ones and pour it into the ice cream container, mix it up with sugar-free vanilla pudding, and a small amount, enough to give it flavor, of some peanut butter, some powdered peanut butter. I didn't even know powdered peanut butter existed until I started working with my nutritionist. I mix that all together and we freeze it for 24 hours, and then I can make it the next day, and it's a very high protein, low sugar ice cream that I can have at this point. And so that is my comfort food at this time, right? I love ice cream, I love chocolate, and to know that there's a form of ice cream that I can make for myself that's healthy for me, that is waiting for me after this procedure, it helps quite a bit with my mindset. So one fun fact about myself outside of weight loss is I love to travel. So I've grown up in, I'm an army brat, moving between Germany and military bases stateside. So for about 10 years I lived in Europe, which was fantastic. And then I liked it so much that as a professional, when the opportunity came for me to move to Asia with my company, I jumped at it, and so I've had the opportunity to live in Europe, Asia, as well as, of course, the United States, where I am now. Yeah, I think growing up overseas is one of the reasons that I have the travel bug, that I like to travel a lot. My wife and I now have been to over 24 countries. We've been 4 continents, and we've traveled all over Egypt. We've been all over Europe. We've been all over East Asia together, as well as a lot of North America. Hoping as I sun down and it's easier to travel, of course, since we do have the 4 continents already down, we need to go to South America, which isn't that long of a flight from where we are, but the long flight is to go to Australia. And I'd like to go to New Zealand too, because I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan, and plus I hear it's beautiful. So yeah, so get those 6 populated continents, and then we'll see about Antarctica down the road, right? And make it all 7. So yeah, that's really about me. That's a little bit about my story, why I'm going through this, what I hope to get out of it, and yeah, so I hope you enjoy. I hope we have a fun journey together as I go through this experience, and well, God bless, and we'll see you on the next video. All right. Thank you so much.